अधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। बोले श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। हरि ओम। Today we are coming to the last day of looking into Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda's book, Hasten Slowly. It is on the different aspects of yoga, what is the mind, how to quieten the mind, and what are the ways by which the mind can give us trouble, and finally, how to reach that state where there is no mind, or rather, disidentifying with myself with the thought that there is a mind. So we are just going to review the whole book today. We have seen chapter by chapter all these Sundays, and for the last 2 weeks it's been happening on a different day because of other issues here. So from this Sunday onwards, we will be continuing with another important book which Puja Gurudev has given for our study, that is called Self-Unfoldment, which is mainly based on aspects of yoga sadhana. So Hazen slowly starts with, why should I quieten the mind? Why can't I just go play cricket or fly kites or go swimming or just do some exercise? Why should I put all my effort into quietening the mind? The only way to see the truth of who I am is by quietening the mind. And so for that reason, and until I know who I am, the mind is never going to be quiet, because the source for all our wanting and for all our desires is from the self within us. And unless I identify the source, I do not know from where I get my desires, from where this wanting comes, and from where I am seeking fulfillment in life. Until I understand that, the mind is never going to be quiet. So I have to see myself as I truly am. For that reason, the mind has to be quieted. The Vedas and the scriptures and the gurus and the masters who teach us what is there in the scriptures are pointers and signposts for the sadhaka. Yesterday we celebrated Guru Purnima everywhere. Guru is a person who acts like a global positioning system. Just like how if we do not know the route, we have to travel on the road. And because of that, our mind is going round and round, and we are spending a lot of our fuel searching for the destination, searching how to go, asking here and there, not getting proper guidance. And finally, we check the GPS, the map, and then we reach our destination. In the same way, in life, we are searching, we are buffering all the time, and we go on searching. The Guru is our global positioning system who helps the mind to reach the self which is within. That is why in the Tirumandiram, there's a very beautiful verse which says, Telivu Guruvin Tirumeni Kandal. Seeing the form of the Guru gives clarity to the mind. Telivu Guruvin Tirunamam Cheppal. Chanting the name of the Guru gives clarity to the mind. Telivu Guruvin Tiruvarthai Ketal. Listening to the words of the Guru gives clarity to the mind. Telivu Guru Guru Sindittal Kane. Meditating on the form of the Guru gives clarity to the mind. What is this mind we are talking about? The mind is a flow of thoughts. Where are these thoughts flowing? We are actually inside the mind. The thoughts are flowing all around us, like how we stand beneath the surface of a river. In the same way, we are standing on earth beneath the surface of the mind, which is a river containing a flow of thoughts. And the flow is the quality of our mind is determined by the quality of our thoughts, are determined by the quantity of the flow, the quality of the flow, and the direction of the flow. The quantity of thoughts, how many thoughts are we getting? Is, is there a dam around me that arrests the flow of thoughts and I entertain just one thought or just two thoughts with which I am focusing my attention on, or unknown to me, my mind is flooded with thoughts. So the quantity of thoughts. And what is the quality of thoughts? What kind of thoughts are my mind flooded with? Am I flooded with base thoughts, with thoughts about food all the time, with thoughts about body all the time, with thoughts about my likes and dislikes all the time, or with thoughts about my ideas and aspirations and goals all the time, or the thoughts about discipline, how I want to discipline myself, how I want to raise high in life, how I want to raise my bar in life. Are these the thoughts that I get? Or am I getting random thoughts without my control and I don't even know how to shut the flow of thoughts? Is it those kind of thoughts, quality? And direction of the flow. Even the Yoga Sutra says, we say there are many thoughts, but the Yoga Sutra says that there are only 5 thoughts. What are those 5 thoughts? They are pramana. Pramana means pratyaksha, something that we can see with our eyes, hears, smell, taste, and touch. The 5 perceptions arising out of the 5 sense organs. Then anumana, the guessing thoughts that we get. If we see fire at a distance, or smoke at a distance, we guess that there is fire. If we see rain clouds, we guess there is going to be rain. So these are guessing thoughts. Agama are the thoughts that are there in the books of knowledge. Thoughts about heaven, thoughts about hell, thoughts about liberation, the thoughts that talk about who I am, what is the nature of the body, what is the nature of the mind. These thoughts that are found in the books, the sacred texts, are called agamas. So pratyaksha. Pratyaksha, anumana, agama. Then you have viparyaya. Viparyaya are the object is something, but we understand it differently. So the thought form of the sky, for example, the blue sky, is a viparyaya thought because there is actually no sky, no form to it. It is not a dome shape, or it is not got blue color, or it is not filled with light. But we perceive it in that way because we are seeing through the lens of the fleshy eyes, which are part of the body. Because of that, we see something else than what is there. That is called, all the colors we see are all viparyaya. If you see an orange color, it is absorbing all the colors of all the other colors of the light spectrum and expelling the color orange. So what is the actual color of this book? It is everything else: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, and red. But we are seeing orange, which is called a viparyaya thought. When you see the book, you say it's an orange colored book. It is a viparyaya or a mistaken thought. Then you have the third type of thought, which engulfs us, is vikalpa. Vikalpa is imaginative thought. Thoughts born out of our own thoughts born out of ignorance of the actual uh, the existence of, there is no object, but even when there is no object, we understand something else and we imagine something else, which is called vikalpa. The opposite of that is the thought we construct positively, which is called sankalpa. And then you have the thought pattern called nidra. Nidra means there is no flow. There is no flow, or rather, the mind is not aware of the flow of thoughts. And so the mind is thinking there are no thoughts. It is like the ostrich that has buried its head under the ground and thinking there is nothing around to see and everything is dark. In the same way is nidra. The mind buries itself into um, existence at a time of sleep in night, and then it doesn't know that everything exists, and so it does not experience anything. That is called nidra. Smriti is a thought of memory. So these are the 5 thoughts that we have in our mind. So when we say flow of thoughts, the flow of these 5 types of thoughts are all around us all the time, and That is the flow that we need to control through our understanding. So the sadhana to control this flow of thoughts is to learn to initiate new and healthier channels of thoughts. That is, the quantity of thoughts must be lesser, the quality of thoughts must be healthy, meaning uh, thoughts about my sadhana. The Yoga Vasishta talks about Purushartha all the time. Prarabdha is what the thoughts that come to us as prarabdha. Purushartha is what I want to do with those thoughts and how I want to create the kind of life that I want with those thoughts is called Purushartha. And so the quality of thoughts is determined by our Purushartha or self effort and the direction of the flow. Again, in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is said these thoughts are of two types. They are outbound thoughts or inbound thoughts. They are klishta or aklishta. Klishta means the thoughts that take me away from myself, from my true nature, are klishta. The thoughts that take me to my nature is aklishta. That is, thoughts that give me pain and thoughts that unite me to myself. The inner flow is more powerful, but the thoughts that flow within towards the self are very powerful actually. But the rishis first tell us when we want to do something with a barrage of water in a flooded river, first we have to control the flow. We have to control the inflow of water. So the rishis suggest that first control the inflow by shutting off the sense organs, by not perceiving thoughts through the ears, closing the eyes. You can't close the nose, but you can not go behind the smells that you experience, and close the tongue by closing the mouth, not taking in new experiences through the tongue, and shutting down the sense organ of skin by not giving too much of importance to it. When we don't give importance, those thoughts, the thought flow is shut down. The rishis are first telling to conquer the outer senses through dhamma. Dhamma means sense control. And as I said, when you want to work with the water in the river, first we have to create a barrage around us that protects inflow of water. Even when they do some work on the river, they want to build a bridge or something, you've always seen that they stack sandbags on either side of the river so that the flow is stopped. And then they are able to lay the bridge or dig the foundation to lay the bridge and all that work. So when you want to do some work with the help of thought, you have to shut the flow by quietening the sense organs first. To do to quieten the sense organs are activated from the world outside and also from the activity of the mind within in the form of desires. We go out of our house in two ways. One way is when somebody rings a bell, we go out, we answer the call and we go out of the house. The other way is when there is a desire from within to go out, even then we go out of the house. In the same way, the mind has to be quietened, it has to stay within, the mind has to become purified of its two main fluctuations called raga or attachment to the world outside and dvesha or hateful detachment from the world outside. So this raga and dvesha, the hatred and the desire should be quietened down. Mind entertains desire. So this whole process, how does it work? Mind is entertaining desires all the time. Like a small child, I want that toy, I want this toy, I want to play with this car, I want that car, I want this dress. The mind is going on looking outside and entertaining desires like a small child. The intellect is like a parent. Those days, parents will give a spank and say, just follow me, don't keep looking here and there. and the child is brought home. But the parents of today, they entertain the child like our buddhi, like our intellect. They entertain all the desires of the mind. Oh, you want this, you want that, I will get you this, I will get you that. And they flood the mind with all the objects of the desires. With whatever money they have, they buy it. And so when the mind entertains desires, the intellect is planning those desires, how to go about fulfilling those desires. And constantly the intellect is planning, and the body works hard to fulfill the plans of the intellect. Buddhi karma anusarani. The intellect follows action. So when the intellect is planned, next action follows, and the body does the action. The desire is fulfilled, yet the mind is feeling empty because the mind is entertaining a desire only to experience that moment of being fulfilled through that desire. When that moment is gone, the fulfillment is gone, and then the next desire is coming up in the mind. So, this is a secret problem which is caused by the mind. Until we understand the secret, we will constantly be going behind objects. The desire will be fulfilled for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or maybe one day, or sometimes it can be even 30 days. Whatever big the desire we may achieve, it will be fulfilled, and then the mind is ready, seeking for its next desire. What is the cause for this desire in the mind? It is caused by avidya, or ignorance of who I truly am. So the goal of meditation is to quiet the mind, and because the mind is quiet, it reflects the true self. You get to know the self. Once you know who you truly are, once I know who I truly am, then the mind becomes quiet. So Gurudev points out the anatomy of desire in the next chapter, in chapter 2. Man is only desiring. See, the mind is entertaining desires. Why is the mind entertaining desires? The mind is entertaining desires, one, because of ignorance, thinking that the desire will fulfill the quest for happiness within. But why is that? How is that quest being fulfilled? The mind is attached to something that gives it joy, temporary joy or whatever it is. It doesn't know it is temporary. So, if the mother gives the child joy, the child is attached to the mother. If the child feels a toy is giving joy, it is attached to the toy. If the child thinks that it has to go there and it will be happy, then it is attached to that place. So it gives him joy. So what is the cue inside? What is the cue inside that drives the mind to action to fulfill a desire? The thought that this gives me joy. It is an ignorant thought, a thought that has no life in it. But still, we believe that it is there. The thought is there. This thought is the cue. The cue is this object gives me joy, this person gives me joy, or this situation gives me joy. And then the craving is there. The cue, the craving follows a cue. What is the craving? The faith we put in that object. Like, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate. The constant, once a cue is there, this is the thing that I want. Then the mind is going on and on consciously craving for that object, where it places its faith on that object as a means of fulfillment of its desire. So there is an urgency to attain that object, which is called the craving. And this is followed by action. What is the action? Concentration on the thought, a capacity to enter the thought, a capacity to entertain one thought is called the action. A capacity to entertain one thought of meditation forms the action. And then the result will be a mind, if you want the result of a mind free of agitations, the craving, the cue inside is the thought of ignorance, and the craving is with shraddha, with faith in that process, in the process of yoga sadhana, in the process of the process mentioned by the words of the Guru and the Shastras. So the Shraddha, there's a sincere urgency, a sincere expectation to quieten the mind. The action is sitting down to concentrate, to quieten the mind and to meditate, just having one thought. The thought can be of the Guru, the thought can be of some divine form that we like, and the result is a mind free of agitations. So when the mind becomes free of agitations, does it simply stop agitating? No. It can be temporarily free of agitations, but as long as the mind is there, the agitations will keep following. It is not that just because we ate very well yesterday, we are not going to eat today. Again, hunger rises today because as long as the stomach is there, there is going to be hunger. In the same way, as long as the mind is there, there is going to be disturbance and agitation. So the whole process of this sadhana finally comes to how to do away with the mind completely. How to realize that actually there is no mind. That is what doing away with the mind is. So bhakti or devotion, Gurudev talks about devotion as a means, as a way to prepare the mind to that quiet state. And then he also quotes from the Yoga Sutra, the second sutra, which says, Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. What is Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha? The practice of yoga or doing some action to quieten the mind is yoga. And how is that achieved? What does that result in? The chitta or consciousness, which is the knowing plus the five sense organs, is called the chitta. It is always breaking into vrittis or different waves of thoughts, circulatory motion of thoughts. This chitta is constantly in movement. It is moving with the thoughts of what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, with the thoughts of what we are guessing all the time, with the thoughts of all the books and the books of knowledge and other things that we read and listen to, with the thoughts of our confusions, with the thoughts of our imaginations, with the thoughts of not knowing anything, with the thoughts of ignorance, and with the thoughts of memories. The chitta is completely active with these five kinds of thoughts. And that creates waves in the mind. The waves, when they are constantly building up, one day, like a pressure cooker, it can explode. Blow the top off or send the whistle off. The whistle blowing is a state when we are completely disturbed because of our mind. That is because if we do not constantly attend to our mind, the waves keep gathering, they build up steam, and the mind is ready to explode someday. So these waves have to be quietened on a day-to-day basis. Nirodhaha means to stop. Chitta vritti nirodhaha. This is achieved by being a witness. How do you achieve this state of quietude? Either when you achieve the state of quietude, you become a witness of your thoughts, you become a witness of your feelings, or if you strive to be a witness of your thoughts and feelings, you achieve the quiet state of mind. It is a two-way process. The Shastras declare the truth, point out the goal, and prescribe ways and means to achieve it. So this is not called an empty conversation or empty discussion, devoid of any compassion, devoid of any life in it. This whole process of quietening the mind is a very lively process as prescribed by our texts and the gurus who have given it to us. This is they declare the truth. They say the truth is one and that is experienced within, and they point out the goal which is within us. And not only that, they also prescribe the ways and means by which we can attain that goal. And what are the ways and means by which we can attain? Mind becomes one with what is pleasant and achieves chitta sthairya, the steadiness of the chitta. When the mind becomes one in a very happy state, in a happy state of being, the mind becomes steady. And so long as this mind is existing, thus long there will be thoughts. So how to quieten the mind and absorb the mind completely in the self? That is the process of this hasten slowly. Gurudev in every chapter, he keeps saying hasten slowly, because it is not something that we do in a day. It is not like eating some fast food and satiating our desire for some taste. It is a lifelong process. So long as the mind exists, there will be thought. So, how to quieten the mind? The first thing is to quieten the mind. Quietening the mind happens through swadhyaya, study of the self, study of my own nature, study of the great texts or books like Yoga Vasishta, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Upanishads, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the books written by the masters explaining these books, the Bhashya. Because the original we may not understand. More than that, we may misunderstand the original. So it is better to read through the words of a master what is being mentioned in those books. That is one thing. The other form of swadhyaya is to study my own self, my own thoughts, from where the thoughts arise, how long does it stay, when does it go, because of what reason the thought goes. These are all the questions that we can ask ourselves to study the nature of our thoughts. Then by doing japa, Gurudev says a mind conditioned japa, conditioned by japa. Japa means janmana pati. One, the practice which saves me from other janmas or taking more and more life forms or more and more births is called japa. And what is japa? Is like repeating the name of our favorite god, Ishta Devata, is called japa. And then dhyana or meditation. Shravana is to listen to the words of the Guru, listen to the words of the Vedas. Shravana. Contemplating on those words. It's not enough to just listen. Once we listen and then we go about doing some other work, the words that we hear go away. We have to contemplate on those words, what we have listened. That's called manana. And meditate on those words, which is nidhidhyasana. And all this consistently we have to follow day in and day out. It is called abhyasa. Abhyasa is sadhana, constant practice. And how long do we do it? Again, the Yoga Sutra says, which is being quoted here in Hasten slowly, Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Asevita Drida Bhumihi. Dirghakala means for a long period of time. Nairantarya is consistently. Satkara is with respect to the practice. Asevita, constantly paying attention to that practice. Then Drida Bhumihi, the habit of what I'm trying to cultivate becomes very strong. Uparama is, even if I try to make the mind strong, try to make the mind steady, the mind is constantly going out through the sense organs. So withdrawing the mind from the sense organs is called uparama, and then attaining the state of quietude of mind or beatitude of mind is called the samadhi sthiti, or today is the Mahasamadhi day of our Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmaya Ji's Diksha Guru, Sannyasa Diksha Guru is Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj. And Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj has spoken so much about the importance of yoga in our lives. He has stressed the importance of sadhana, of karma yoga, of bhakti yoga, of jnana yoga, of kirtan and chanting, the hatha yoga practices that we do, of all the aasanas and pranayama. He has given importance to all that on a constant basis to achieve that state of quietude of mind. So remembering him, we continue here. Personality reconstruction is the whole process. We are born with we are born with different types of vasanas. There are undercurrents of the mind is going into its favorite pastures all the time, not because of the world outside, but within us there are some undercurrents of thoughts and feelings that are constantly craving for something. As long as these undercurrents are there, the mind is never going to be at rest. So, the personality reconstruction program is by cleaning, removing, or de-weeding the mind of all its false notions. Even in formation of habits, people say that the scientists who study habits say we have to edit our habits. We have to edit our identities and beliefs all the time. We do the same things again and again because of what we believe about ourselves and what we believe about our surroundings. Unless we constantly check our beliefs and constantly edit our beliefs, we are going to keep doing the same things again and again. So, cleaning the mind, removing or de-weeding the mind of all its false notions. How is it happening? By the two words abhyasa and vairagya. As I've mentioned, it is there in the Bhagavad Gita, quoted many times in the Bhagavad Gita. These two words, abhyasa means constant practice, and vairagya means withdrawal from the familial pastures of entertainment for the mind, is vairagya. Even the Yoga Sutra talks of Abhyasa and Vairagya. The Yoga Vasishta also calls Abhyasa and Vairagya as the two wings with which the bird can fly. Abhyasa, what is Abhyasa or constant practice? Is Brahma Vidya. I am that self, the Supreme Self is Abhyasa. And scheme to withdraw the mind through the practice of Shama is quietude of mind. Dhamma is control of the sense organs. Uparama is withdrawing the mind and focusing on our own duty. Whatever there are things that we want to do, there are things that we have to do, there are things that we love to do. Duty is doing the things that we have to do in our life, focusing on them, doing that duty, not identifying ourselves with the results of that action, not identifying ourselves as the doer of the action, but just as an offering. Uparama, then you have titiksha. So all this time we have led a life of zero control, and suddenly when we control the mind, the previous pinpricks that have been causing all the disturbances will rise up from within and cause those situations around us, those objects around us, and those people around us to come and give us trouble for some time. So we should have a little patience and put up with it without complaining or without getting disturbed about it. Then you have Shraddha or complete faith in the practice, that unless we have faith that because of this practice I am going to achieve that self which has been spoken of in the Vedas and the Upanishads and the masters, unless I have that faith, my practice is not going to be successful, because faith is the fuel with which the practice keeps going. So, the Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Stitiksha, Shraddha, and finally, when all this happens, the mind is in a very absorbed and quiet state that is called Samadhanam. Samyak adhiyate manaha. Samadhi. Samadhi means the mind is getting disturbed all the time. Like there is a cup of water, the cup is shaking, like the body is shaking, the mind is shaking, and the water is disturbed. When the body becomes quiet, the mind becomes quiet, the water is still, and there are no waves in the water. In the same way, we quieten the mind through samadhi. And then finally, with a quietened mind, the Bhagavad Gita says, after 6 chapters, you quieten the mind. This is a process to quieten the mind. After the mind becomes quiet, what does one do? After the mind becomes quiet, offer that mind unto me, says Bhagavan. In the same way, offer the mind to Bhagavan or offer the mind to the self within. And Gurudev here points out in the last few chapters before that the process of quietening the mind will give rise to many powers. Like gods may come and talk to us, or they may come and ask us for some work to do. So never get very enchanted by all these and go behind those mystical powers, but have your focus on the goal that we have to achieve. Transcending those powers and keep focusing on the goal. And recognizing the last but not the least, how do we, as these progresses and these practices are done, the mind will become quiet. But how to not make the mind come back again and cause further disturbances in future is the goal of yoga also. Yoga says why the practice of yoga is heyam dukkham anagatam. In future, I don't want any sorrow. That is why I'm practicing yoga. What is the cause of sorrow? The identification of the seer with what is the seen is the cause of sorrow. So when this identification has been removed, and then finally you realize that there is no seer at all. When the identification is removed, the seer alone is. When the seer alone is, there is only the perceiver and there's nothing else. So when there's nothing else besides the perceiver, there is actually no two but just one, where we come to Vedanta. And Gurudev says, recognizing mind's existence and total identification with the mind is cause of all our problems. First, we think the mind exists, and then we are identified with that existence, the false notion of the existence of the mind. And through that identity, see, first I say, my glasses exist. I believe my glasses exist. Then I wear those glasses and I look at everything through those glasses. And because of that, I see everything in the color of those glasses. If the glasses are pink in color, I see everything as pink. If the glasses are multicolored, I see multiple layers of colors around me. If the glasses are red in color, I see red everywhere. In the same way, the mind has got certain colors to it. I first believe that the mind exists, and then I believe that I identify with that mind, and that is the cause for all my trouble in this world. And what form that the trouble comes, I do not apprehend the reality. I don't apprehend the truth, and I misapprehend it as something else. I misapprehend every object. This object is a truth. This object is existence, but I misapprehend it as a cup. This object is existence, but I misapprehend it as a water pot. This object is existence, but I misapprehend it as a book. This object is existence, but I misapprehend it as a pen. There's nothing wrong in this misapprehension, but when I develop attachments to these objects, then it becomes a problem. These objects are all tools for use. I use them and I keep them, there is no problem. But when I put I and mind to these objects and I get attached to them, it leads to a series of problems that causes agitations in the mind. So the whole process of quietening the mind is to be done fast. It is to be done fast means you don't postpone it for 60 years or 70 years or 80 years. The postponement constantly takes place. You do it right now. But when we do it right now, it is not that we have to do it so fast that we have to achieve this in 10 days. It's not a 10-day program or a 10-day project. We have to hasten slowly, which is the content of this whole book that we have seen. This book is available with our CCMP publications online and offline in our Chinmaya Mission ashrams in your place wherever you are. The title of the book is Hasten Slowly by Swami Chinmayananda. It's a very small, tiny book and a very good guideline for quietening the mind, for understanding what is the problem of mind and knowing how to come out of it and taking up the necessary practices that we need to do to quieten the mind. With this, we conclude with this. And from this Sunday, we will begin with the next text called self-unfoldment, which is a very beautiful process of how to unfold the benign qualities of the mind. Here we are talking of controlling the mind and removing all the negative thought patterns and understanding the mind. Self-unfoldment is about expressing our very good qualities of the mind through the process of Chinmaya Yoga. Commit to win and win you will is the title of this whole series. And nothing that has been spoken is difficult. It has been shown by the masters who have practiced all this and achieved success in their life. If they can do it, we can do it. What we need is commitment, commit to win, and win you will. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसोर्मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। हरि ओम।